We're SlikRok Productions, and we are here with MTS Off-Road. These guys traveled all the way from Arizona to come do some shock tuning today.
You're in my domain, got the whole crowd screaming out our name. It's a blowout, it's a hurricane, it's over before you know it. While you shaking, we're
This is Ned, and Ned is a freaking stud. I'm really happy to be involved with these guys. And my biggest complaint with the XRS is when I first got it, it felt like it was okay, but it has got really sharp. This is a stock setup, stock spring, stock valving. I haven't done anything except add some preload to it as it's gotten softer. But on the little stuff, it's really sharp. And it articulates fairly well, it climbs well, but on the trails when you're going from A to B, it just beats you up. And so that's what I'm hoping to accomplish. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know you guys know this world a lot better than I.
Well, we've got, we're able to make your ride a lot softer. We're going to be able to get into the valving. We're going to change some valving, give you some good low-speed valving to take a lot of your low-speed chatter away, which is going to be nice. Your wife's going to love it. It's going to ride a lot better over the smaller stuff.
Okay.
Absolutely. And not to mention, we're going to use iBox springs all the way around the whole car. And one of the problems everybody deals with these Can-Ams is you got to keep preloading them. Keep reloading them.
Right. I'm on 3 times right now so far.
Yeah,
I've added preload.
Oh. With iBox, you're going to get one settle, and then the car's going to sit there.
So one and down, one down.
Killer spring.
So we're going to do valving. We're going to change the springs out. Yep. We're going to fine tune them down. So I know 3 guys personally that have had these guys do their shocks, and they rave about these guys. So I'm really looking forward to this. I appreciate the opportunity, and let's go to work.
Let's do it. Let's get it done.
So in comparison to the stock springs, like what rate spring, what pound rate spring are you running? Are you replacing my springs with?
Pretty much we're almost double than what stock is. So together the 2 springs, say you have a 5/6, together they don't equal 1,100 pounds. They dilute each other down to say 400 pounds together. So that's called your ride rate, and all cars have to have the same ride rate no matter what to hold the car up in the air.
Just to keep ride height, right?
Yeah, so just to keep ride height. So we're running the same ride rate as stock, it's just they have to put twice the preload we have to in order to keep the same ride height.
Gotcha.
So in turn, running heavier springs also reduces preload. You get more adjustability on your cutoff nuts here because say we can run now, we have 8 more inches of adjustability on our cutoff nut versus when this is down 10 inches,
right,
you have a very limited area.
Right.
So for rock crawling now, you can move these all the way up out of the way.
Right.
So you have full
just get them out of the way so you get a lot more, right?
And the job of these is to engage the primary spring and help slow down your car coming into a jump or a G out. Your primary spring engages, starts to compress, and every inch it doubles its rate. So a
400-pound spring is 400 pound at first inch, yep, then 800 at second,
yep, exactly,
and so on. So you could G out or you come in really hard. I mean, you could hit, 18 or 2,000 pounds, yep, at pressure, right?
Yep, but it still maintains that soft ride because of the combination of valving and the way we spring and how we set your knobs and everything is the way it's...
Well, this is the hell I've been going through because my cutoff rings, we'd run them right out of the way anyway because we rock crawl and I want as much motion as I can. So then you jump something or hit something hard, you're not coming into it because I've run them too far away. So this will eliminate that problem altogether.
This will eliminate a lot of that problem. And you can even still, I mean, when we were out at Moab, we didn't adjust our cutoff nut rings and we still got a lot of articulation out of our car.
Right.
So it's just something you can play with. And you get tons and tons of adjustability once we change the length of our springs, weight, and internal valving, and you get a lot more adjustability in all of your low speed, high speed rebound. The way we do our valve stacks, it's a lot more sensitive as well.
Gotcha. So that tells me, like from an ignorant standpoint, which I am truly ignorant when it comes to this, is, you know, when you buy a spring kit online, all you're buying is springs. You're not doing any valving.
Not doing any valving.
And that doesn't really work.
No.
They have to be married to each other. You need a system together that complements your style of riding, your car. The universal thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
If I just get online and I buy a universal spring kit because I think my car is rough or I want it to handle jumps better,
Yeah.
you're not designing anything. And this is really specific because we're running a lot of rolling mass, portals,
Yeah.
big heavy tires. So this isn't one of those deals where you can just jump on Amazon or jump on,
Yeah.
you know, this needs to be specific, right?
Yeah, so what we do is our spring rates don't change hardly ever, unless someone's got a long travel or something like that. Spring rates stay the same, but depending on if someone's a duner versus a desert guy, say they primarily do desert, you know, we can go in and change a few things.
Right.
Or they're a slower driver, or they want a lot more low speed for when they're driving through rocks. You know, we can valve for that. Spring rates
Right.
don't need to change for any of that.
So spring rate's not changing for the most part. That really emphasizes how important valving is
Yep,
then.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Valving and springs together, they have to work in harmony. If not, you get a really rough ride. You can bounce, you can, you know, and it all depends on the driving style too.
Right.
But we have a really good base valve set that does everything super well. But if you're hardcore duner all the way, we can definitely, you know, cater
Cater to that side of it. Right.
Or if you're
Gotcha.
rock crawler, we can definitely cater to those needs.
Yeah, well, I like guys who make me smarter.
There you go.
So we have been tuning shocks all day, and this is Greg. Greg owns MTS Off-Road, and before I get into that, tell me a little bit about your company.
All right, so we are a suspension and off-road tuning specialist. We're out of Phoenix, Arizona. We enjoy making the experience better, improving the machines, getting the most out of what people spend their hard-earned money on.
Excellent. Because we've talked a little bit over the last 6 months. We've had the opportunity to share a couple of trails together, and we're very aligned in how we feel about off-road enthusiasts, the community, and our companies are kind of symbiotic of each other.
So far, so
And it's kind of it's a refreshing thing to us because you guys are people guys. You've traveled around. You traveled all the way up here from Phoenix, Arizona to come tune some shocks for us, which is unbelievable. And you guys did just such a phenomenal job. And so these guys are not, it's really easy when you talk about tuning shocks, we talk about spring rates, we talk about valving, it all flows out of the mouth really easy, but this is not easy. This is a science, and it's really incredible how just the littlest tweaks in valving and the combination of what you guys do. This is Greg's car, and we went on a trail today when we got done tuning some shocks that I've been on my whole life, and it's a rough trail.
It was.
It is abusive. It's really rugged, and we switched cars out, and this thing is like a Serta mattress. It is unbelievable. It's so controlled and it's so plush, and I felt like, you know, the stuff that we've done in the past, that we did a pretty good job dialing our shocks in, we suck. And it's kind of hard for me to cop up to that. And it shames me a little bit that for the last few years that we didn't know each other and we haven't figured this out. And so my hat's off to you guys. You guys have done the research. There is a science to this. It's very impressive. And so your platform, you mainly dial in suspension, right? This is really the bread and butter of it, right?
You know, shocks and strength of suspension components is what we're experts at. That's
Gotcha.
what we spend our time doing, our
Right.
testing. That's the science that we bring into the equation, and then we add the comfort to go with the science to create the safety. Overall better
Right.
experience for the consumer.
And so we both agree that when you think about the modifications you should do to a machine, safety is always the first thing. You know, we're big supporters of cages, of harnesses, but really this comes into play when you think about safety. And then the very next thing that I think about is always comfort. Because, you know, being able to go out and spend a bunch of time on a rough trail and not, you know, get beat up is really important, but it makes such a difference in how you enjoy being off-road when you enjoy riding in a machine that is comfortable. And this machine is ridiculous. It's amazing how well that thing rode. So we took my Can-Am. That was the first car we did today. And they changed the valving in it. We changed the springs in it. We dialed it in a bit, and that car rides 150% better. It's ridiculous how that thing handles. It jumps, it handles whoops, it handles whatever I can throw at it. And that's a car with 35-inch tires and portals. Absolutely. That is a car that's really hard to get dialed in. The ride height is perfect on it. It sustains. It rebounds so well. It just feels like it's a control thing. I mean, you know what that car is going to do. You know how it's going to take. The first few hits I was taking, I was cringing. I mean, I was ready to get hit.
Which is common. We get that a lot.
It was unbelievable, man. You guys are really good at what you do. And so for all you guys out there, 95% of us, we're not race car drivers. I mean, we don't really do that stuff. We ride in the mountains, we rock crawl, we trail ride, we hit the dunes sometimes. But the universal platform is really, that's the goal, to be able to go from from the dunes to the rocks to the trails and be comfortable all the time and have a car that performs.
Well, and the shocks today give us the capability to do that.
Right.
With a few tweaks and a twist here and a turn your knob, and with a little education that we provide you and our customers.
Right.
We don't just sell you something and turn our backs and walk away.
Right.
We walk you through it. We give you the contacts. We make sure you understand, because that's half the battle.
A little background about Greg here and his company is, I know guys that this guy has done shocks for, and they give you their cell phone numbers, and they will help you. They will answer the phone. If you have a question, they'll help you dial something in. You don't turn your back on people. You don't just sell them something and then we're off to the next guy. They want to know that all their customers are extremely happy. Your reputation is what you guys are thriving after.
And that's part of the package, is that we want to educate and teach, and we want the consumer to be, in the end, to get a perception of value, and their money went somewhere where it's actually working for them.
Right. And that's super important to us, because as a company who does reviews and we do product testing, and it's important to us to know that when somebody's buying your product, the product itself is obviously important, but the company that stands behind it, the people who stand behind it, that's really important to us. So that is something that we're looking for, and I know that you've got that in spades, brother. And so we're going to take a little break from each other, and SlikRok is going to abuse a bunch of the shocks that these guys have built. And 3 weeks from now, we're going to meet each other at the Dune Invasion. And if we want to do any fine tuning, I've got your guys at my disposal for that, which I really appreciate. And I'm looking forward to putting some reviews out and letting the world know what I have learned today, because that is some really good information. And I honestly feel stupid that we haven't gone down this road before, because it will change your world in driving a car that is properly tuned. It's so much smoother, it's comfortable, it's safe. You guys do a phenomenal job. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Yep. So now that we're alone and I can speak freely without sounding like I'm kissing somebody's ass, I want to talk about MTS. These guys completely superseded our expectations. These guys are professional. I have felt like for the last few years that we've had our cars pretty dialed in, our suspension pretty dialed in for the kind of riding we do. And we were actually kind of proud of it. We thought when we put those guys in our cars that they were going to be like, oh, you guys are pretty good. And they had good enough manners. They were polite enough. They didn't laugh at us to our faces. But I believe they probably wanted to. Their suspension setups are so far superior to ours, it's not even funny. There's a science to this that I was completely unaware of. And it's really mind-boggling to me, because this is one of those moments where it's not very often where somebody just really surprises me. I feel like we've been in this industry long enough, and we've gone through enough parts and enough products. There's a lot of great stuff out there, but every once in a while something just kind of sets you back. And this is one of those occasions. These cars ride phenomenal. When I got in their car, we were up a canyon here locally, and it is a rough canyon. It's just full of foot and a half boulders and just tons of them. And I was going through there at 30 miles an hour. It was so smooth. At 5 miles an hour, it was smooth. At 50 miles an hour, it was smooth. These guys know their way around shocks. And so the cool thing is they called us beforehand, before coming all the way up here. They wanted to know what our machines weigh, what kind of tires we're running, what style terrain, what we weigh. They wanted all the specifics so they could be prepared to build our cars. And this is what these guys do. This is all they do. They set up and tune shocks, and the difference is night and day. And so when I think about all you guys out there, the style riding we all do, 95% of us ride in the mountains. We ride on trails. We're not airing our cars out and G'ing them out. We're not hitting the whoops at 90 and racing. We're all riders. We go out and we tear up trails. And if you build a shock so you can G your car out and you can jump at 30 feet in the air, you're going to sacrifice on the other side. You know, it's hard to get a suspension that works from one terrain to the other terrain, but these guys have got it figured out. So get a hold of these guys. The prices range anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,000 to have them redo your shocks, revalving, new springs. But you can send your shocks in. You're going to be without them for a week, week and a half. But these guys will ask you all the questions. They'll build a shock around your specific needs. We're going to see them again in a couple weeks up at the Dune Invasion. They're going to set up a few more cars up there. These guys are booked everywhere they go, but they take the time for every individual person to make sure they're completely happy. They're a great company. We highly endorse them, and I cannot wait to see them again and see what they do to our next cars. Thanks, guys.